What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back. It's your boy Blue, and I'm gonna help you survive one of the steepest and most challenging downhill gradients so far in Train Sim World 3 with a heavy US freight train. So welcome to Cajon Pass. We are approaching the summit in a 14,000 ton, 6,000 foot long grain train powered by 7 BNSF ES44C4 locomotives, 4 in the front, 3 in the back, for a total of 95 vehicles. I truly believe the best way to overcome the Cajon Pass steep descent is to see it coming. We're heading southbound to San Bernardino. We're actually approaching the summit over Cajon Pass. This is the map of the entire route, and you see go all the way down here to the squiggly part. When you kind of get to this parallel line, it kind of goes to the north, you know you're getting close to the Cajon Pass summit. The actual summit is actually a bit farther down the line, right over here. You see this little siding? This is right before the summit. So the summit's actually right over here, right after this signal. So we're gonna see 2 sets of signals. Let's see this set of signals. We're gonna see the siding, and then we're gonna see the second set of signals, and this is where the summit is. So you wanna make sure that you are ready and prepared to take the steep downhill portion before you get there. So we're gonna walk through it, so don't worry. Also, again, we have these 3 sets of track here next to us as well. A few tips I like to mention before we get too close, and that is just look at your left screen here. Make sure your brakes are fully released. So 90. Whenever you see 90 here in the locomotive, that means that that brake is fully released or fully charged. So our brake pressure is 90, and our rear is also at 90. So that means our brakes are fully released. That means they are ready to be applied when we need them. And also down here in these smaller boxes, it says Indie Brake, Lead, Auto Brake, Freight, and DP Local. Make sure it says that. If it doesn't, I'll show you how to fix it. You go right here to F8 on more options, and then operator controls under F4, and then here you'll see it says auto brake, cut in, and independent brake lead. Make sure that yours matches mine. If it does not, you can click on F2 or F3 and it'll actually cycle that between cut in and cut out and whatnot. So that's where you fix that. Also, make sure here on the left on this radio panel looking thing that your banking comm is switched to on. The best way to know that it's on is that when you hover over it, it says on. If it says off, that means it's off. So something very important to understand is, first of all, understand your brakes. So I would recommend, whether you're a keyboard or mouse, rail driver, or a console controllers, make sure you understand how to apply each of the brakes. So your dynamic brake here is the blue one, your automatic brake is the red one, and your independent brake is the black one. And you need to know how to bail out your independent brake. To do so, you basically press the independent brake release button, and then once it gets all the way to release, you go ahead and press and hold it again, and that will put it into the bail off position. So when we get up to the top, and let's take a look where we are. So we're making a turn. Let me go ahead and start slowing down. I'm gonna bring the throttle back into idle, so notch 1 or below. And so what's going to happen is when we get to the top of the hill, we're going to apply our dynamic brake. We're going to put our dynamic brake into setup. It's going to take 10 seconds for the dynamic brake to actually set up. And then once that 10 seconds passes, we'll put it into 1, 2, 3, or 4, whichever we need. So we're going to come around the corner, and we should see the summit just over there. Once we get over the crest of the hill, what we're going to do is continue to apply dynamic brake to try to maintain our speed. Once we can no longer maintain speed with just the dynamic brake, we will apply automatic brake to help us hold the train. Now, where the independent brake comes in is when we move the automatic brake, it's actually going to cut out the dynamic brake. It's basically going to become zero effective, and we need that to come back in. So we're going to immediately bail out the independent brake. So it happens very fast, so we're gonna run through it. So now we're on the little straight portion of the track. We got our first signal here, and a second signal is gonna be behind it. That's gonna indicate where our summit is. There's also that little box on the right as well. You see it's split up to 3 tracks. There should be a siding on the left here as well. But again, we're gonna roll up to the top of the hill, just kind of allowing gravity to slow us down. We're doing 20 miles per hour. We can probably keep up a little bit more. Now my goal is going to be to keep my speed between 10 and 15 miles per hour. I know that sounds slow, and it's not what the training center tutorial will teach you. It will teach you to go 30 miles per hour. I do not recommend that because in Train Sim World 3, in the current version, the dynamic brake is not very effective going down this particular hill at 30 miles per hour. It's most effective between 10 and 15, I've found out in my personal experience. There's that sighting I talked about right there, indicating the summit. Very nice. So yes, between 10 and 15, but we want to make sure we work below 15. So I'm going to be around 12 or 13 miles per hour. So we're already slow. Let's go ahead and put our dynamic brake into setup right there. Again, it's going to take 10 seconds. You can see a yellow 0 appear on your HUD, as well as keep an eye here on your KLB. It's going to be your RPM, or how much power you're putting down. And now it's been about 10 seconds. We can actually start applying dynamic brake. We're not at the top yet, but I just want to show you a few things before we get there, because once we start going downhill, it's all going to happen very fast. So you can see now right here the yellow numbers are now at 4. As we apply more, they're going to climb up. That's just showing us that we are actually getting power in the dynamic brake. The dynamic brake is used to slow you down, and it happens almost instantly, so you can make a lot of very fine adjustments if you need to. The automatic brake, on the other hand, is not very adjustable. Once you set it, it's set. You're not going to be playing around with that too much. So here comes the summit right here. Right, as we go over, there it is. Now we're going down. And again, I want to keep it around 10, 12 or so. The good thing is, you know, we're in a long, heavy train. And the majority of our train is still going uphill behind us. So we're not going to really feel effects of the downhill portion of this until we get the majority of our train over this hill. But we can go ahead and start applying a dynamic brake just to make sure that we keep our speed under control. Now, on your HUD, what it says there is 0.6%. It's only showing what it is here at the head of the train. It doesn't show what the gradient is at the back of the train or even up ahead. So you kind of have to learn as you do this route over and over. You have to learn a bit of track knowledge on where the hills are and things like that to get a better understanding. But that's way down the line. So we're at 11 miles per hour, and I'm actually honestly happy with that. A beautiful sunset, though. Got here just in time to catch that. So right now, we're basically in setup, kind of between setup and just one. Again, gravity is just slowing us down still as we're still trying to climb the hill. If you need to, if you get too slow, feel free to take it out of dynamic braking and put it back, put the throttle back in. But do not apply your automatic brake. And we should have enough momentum to keep just rolling forward. Right now, we're not applying any throttle, any brakes. And again, this may be done differently in other train simulators or even in real life, but I'm trying to explain to you how it works, at least in Train Sim World. I have personally struggled getting down this section of track multiple times, and I thought that I could just make a video to hopefully help you guys understand what's going on and how to successfully get through. It's nothing worse than driving the hour drive from Barstow, get to this hill, and then have a runaway train situation. So still 0.6% here as we come up to these next signals that are actually indicating red for the other two tracks, not us. So now you see 12 miles per hour. And it's slowly creeping up. Now, even though the number's not changing, you can still see the white bar moving. That's why I think the HUD, having the HUD turned on is pretty helpful to understand, hey, the train is still picking up momentum even though it's not changing in miles per hour. So what we can do here is we can actually add one notch of dynamic brake and try to just stabilize it here at about 12 miles per hour. And again, to reiterate, I understand this may seem slow, this may seem like overkill, but in my experience, you want to work underneath 15 miles an hour. Once you get above that and closer to 30 miles an hour, the dynamic brake is less effective, things happen a lot faster, and you get in a very serious situation of having a runaway train. And I speak to you in experience, not just, yeah, I'll just leave it there. So very minimum dynamic braking right now. And the tricky part is knowing when to add in the automatic brake. Now again, the automatic brake is different. The dynamic brake is only applying to the actual locomotive. So we're in the locomotive right now. It's applying to the first 4 and the final 3 in the back, but does not apply to the freight cars behind us, right? Now, the automatic brake applies to the entire length of the train, but it takes time to apply because it's applying to the whole train, one freight car at a time. So this base physical air that's actually moving throughout the brake pipes, through every single train, through every single freight car. So it takes time to go through we have 97 vehicles on us today. So it's gonna take time for it to really slow us down using automatic brake. And once you set it, it's set. If you take it out, it takes a while for it to release, and then it takes even longer to apply again. So you wanna get it right with the dynamic brake. So here we go, 2.4%, let's add in a little bit more, let's get it. I'm gonna go max dynamic brake here. And we'll see how that holds us. You can see in the yellow, we're getting 78 right now. If we were doing 30 miles an hour, we'd be getting probably 18. We're getting a lot more. So right now it's holding 12. It's still slowing down. We can probably come down a notch or so. And you gotta be very careful. Like it's very tricky, and it's gonna take some practice of knowing when to apply those automatic brakes, because again, once you apply those, it feels very final. You know, I don't want to apply a full amount. Matter of fact, I think around this section here between that yellow sign and this bridge coming up, is probably a good time to start applying minimum reduction on the automatic brake. You see now we're starting to gain speed again, so let's go ahead and start adding that in before we get to the worst part. The back of our train is still not quite yet all the way on the downhill portion, so let's go ahead and add in automatic brake. Again, the red handle, so I'm gonna put it in minimum application. There we go. And when we do that, we lose power to the independent brake. Now I'm bailing off the independent brake. Again, to do that, you add automatic brake, come down here and bail off your independent brake. That's gonna make sure we don't lose that traction effort. Now here's the issue. It's gonna take time for the automatic brake to actually apply through the length of the train. I feel like this may be wrong. This showing right now we have 82 is our brake pressure in the front and 83 in the back, which means that our brakes is pretty fast, how fast that happened, right? And I think that what's happening is because the end of our train is actually another locomotive, and this locomotive is communicating through banking comm. I believe that's the reason why it seems like that's happening so fast, but that's not the reality of what's happening in between the locomotives. But anyways, we're gaining speed. You see that? See how fast it's gaining speed? You got to really make sure to jump ahead of that. So let's go dynamic brake to dynamic brake 8, and just keep that under control. You just want to keep it under control. If it's going up fast, that's not good. So we're at 3.0%, pretty steep for this size train. And just want to balance it. You want to find out where the sweet spot is. You want to continue going, down. You don't want to take forever. You don't want to be creeping at 5 miles per hour. You don't really want to be creeping at 10 miles an hour either. But you want to find a sweet spot. Where can you... Look at that. As soon as I release the dynamic brake, it just kicks us in the butt. The weight of the freight car is a slack closing up behind us between each freight car, kicking us back down the hill. Alright, 9.8. So here's dynamic brake 8. So it looks like the sweet spot may be somewhere between notch 6 and notch 8. I'm going to go ahead and notch 7. We'll see what happens. Alright, still slowing down. Let's try notch 6. Alright, and notch 4. And we're gaining speed. Alright, let's go notch 5. Notch 5 might be our sweet spot, but that's going to keep us around 8.3. We're still gaining, actually. And again, a reminder, like, the back of our train is still reaching the steeper portions of the track. Yeah, the back of our train is just now reaching the 0.6% gradient that we passed earlier. So it's not yet to the 2.4, but we want to be prepared we want to be prepared for that 2.4% because it is going to get heavier, and it's going to take more dynamic brake to hold the train from going too fast. And once you get more comfortable with this, you can go much faster. If you like, you can go, you know, 10, 15, 20 miles an hour if you get really good at it. But in my experience, you know, keeping it nice and slow, taking your time, you know, don't rush. That's my only time I've actually been successful at completing the full route of Cajon Pass is when I take my time through this downhill portion. So just balancing it out so you're gaining speed again. And I may not need to go all the way to dynamic brake 8, but I'm doing it just to make sure that I catch the train. I don't want it to get away from me. So there's 7. And you can see it's a lot more stable right around here. We're just kind of hanging. It's barely losing speed. Yeah, so 6 is the least brake we can add, it seems, to keep it from going faster. So 8.9%. Again, the back of our train is still reaching some of the steeper portions. So now we're having to use more dynamic brake. So this is not a bad time because we know by now the back of the train is actually getting the full amount of automatic brake we're requesting. We could actually go ahead and add a little bit more automatic brake. I say we go with like 25%. So again, I'm gonna move the automatic brake handle to 25%, and then immediately afterwards put my independent brake in the bail off. All right, if you do not do that, your dynamic brake will cut off. So here we go. So automatic brake 33%, independent brake bail off. So dynamic brake is still applying, and we can actually, let's go back to notch 6 now, because we know notch 6 was doing a pretty good job of holding us up, and we're getting real slow right now. And I don't want to come to a complete stop, but we're only using 33%. The good news is with this train is we do have a locomotive in the back that helped us out a lot. Some trains don't have the locomotives in the back at all, so in that case it can be a bit more tricky. It depends on the formation that you're driving. Some even have locos in the middle that really helps with wheel slip and things like that. All right, so we're 6.1 and holding. So we're at notch 6 still, and we are slightly gaining speed at dynamic brake notch 6. So we can leave it here. Actually, we're notch 4. I'm sorry. We're at notch 4. So I'm okay with it gaining speed, especially going this slow, but I don't want it to get out of control. So it's kind of going a bit faster than I'm comfortable with. So we go to notch 5 on the dynamic brake. And look at that, we're now at negative 3.2% grade. This is the steepest part going down. I think it might get to 3.4 later. I can't remember. Alright, still gaining speed at notch 5, but very slowly. So we're still under control. Those automatic brakes should be fully applying against the length of the train now, and that's helping us out, so we can use less. Alright, let's go ahead and apply notch 8 now, because we started gaining a lot of speed for some reason. And yeah, so our speed's going up, so let's go ahead and go 50% and bail off. Alright, so you saw our speed was really climbing up really quickly. Notch 8 on the dynamic brake, and it still wasn't slowing down. So I'm still notch 8, and I'm waiting for the automatic brake to apply. I also noticed that my dynamic brake was cutting out. You saw the numbers were going down here. And so I had to bail off my independent brake to make sure. Now we're up to 15 miles an hour, and oh, we just got hit. Yeah, those cars back there are heavy. They're kicking us in the back. So hopefully that's enough brakes on the train to hold us. Right now we're at a steady 15 miles per hour, getting 78,000 pounds of dynamic braking right now. And it's holding on. This is actually exactly where I want to be. Right at 14, right at 15 miles per hour. Still a little uncomfortable because I'm full dynamic brake notch 8 right now. I would prefer to have this stability and be at a lower dynamic braking effort. So just in case, because we know it is a 3.4% gradient coming up behind us, that the back of the train is going to reach, I am going to apply a small amount of more automatic brake now. I think we're at, was it 33%, I believe? So let's go up a little, just a little bit. So let's go 74 and then again, bail off. And once that applies, we're not going to need as much independence. Let's take the, dynamic. We're going to need less dynamics. Let's bring it out slowly. If you add too much automatic brake, the train will come to a complete stop. And you have to recharge and reset the brakes. So I think right there around notch 5 at our current brake effort might be the sweet spot for now. And again, watch this white bar. This will change before this will change. Right now, we're balanced at 11 miles per hour on the 2.9% gradient. I can't ask for anything better than that right now. All right, back to dynamic brake 4. So it's less dynamic brake. I can feel, I say I can feel, but I can tell based on our speed coming down that those automatic brakes are starting to become more effective and are applying to the length of the train and not just the front and back locomotives. So I can bring out the dynamic brake. You don't want to get too confident. I know that we're getting farther into the downhill portion. It seems like things are going well. But you got to stay on your game the whole time, all the way to the bottom, because it can still get away from us. So we're all the way back at dynamic brake 2. We have a decent amount of automatic braking, about 70, I think it was like 78% we just applied, and doing 12 miles per hour. We're holding 11 for a while. I just have to come back on the dynamics because we're losing speed. We're getting too slow. All right, there's 13. Again, the goal is still 15 miles an hour. Even though we're getting farther in it, the goal is still 50 miles an hour. We're at 3.1%. And you can tell we've been at 3.1% for a while, which means that it's a nice long section at 3.1%, which means the back of the train is going to be, you know, falling down a pretty long length track of 3.1% gradient going down, which is going to get very heavy against us. So you want to get ready for that. So now we're at notch 7 and pretty stable at 14 miles an hour. I really hope this helps you guys out. Hopefully I'm explaining this well. As I said, I really personally struggle getting down this portion of track. Many times I've had a lot of runaway train situations. I've been doing 110 miles an hour down here, not even on purpose. And so I really hope this is a light bulb moment for someone. Personally, I use a rail driver, so it is easier to make fine adjustments in sync, but it is possible to do it with a keyboard and mouse. It is also possible to do it with your gamepad. So it just takes some practice and whatever works best for you. We're almost to the bottom. You see that bridge over there? It's going to turn right at that bridge and it's going to start leveling off at about 2.2%, which is about as good as it's going to get until we get to San Bernardino. So what I'll do, instead of driving all the way to San Bern, I'll see if we can stop right after that bridge. All right, we already have most of our brakes applied as we are approaching the signal that we're going to stop at for now. So we don't really need to do much else. The gradient's also kind of leveling off at 2.2%. You can see this is the opening, kind of where Cajon Pass opens up to go the other direction. So you can see the 3 tracks are all coming back together. So if you make it this far and you're still under control, you're pretty excited to see this section of track. From here on out, it should be pretty easy, but still pay attention. Don't let it get away from you. It's a 2.2% steady gradient all the way down to San Bernardino, and so it can still get away from you. But we're going to go ahead and bring the train to a complete stop here, and all we need to do really is just go ahead and fully apply our dynamic brakes, and again, make sure you bail off if it's not applying. And then because we're so slow and we already have the majority of our brakes applied, down the length of the train, we should be able to bring it to a complete stop with the dynamic brake. You can see now 4 miles an hour. Coming up on 3. And it's going to cut out right there, and I'm going to start applying independent brake now. There we go. So now, full application on the independent brakes. I didn't touch the automatic brakes there. We can take the dynamic brake completely out, and we are now at a complete stop at the bottom of the hill. So I hope this helped you guys out. Hey, give it another try. If you fail, just try it again, because you know what? You have 3 choices: give up, give in, and give it all you got. Peace, love, and God bless you. I'll see you guys next time in the next video. I'm out.